working for you.
Family ties. The Supreme Court rules grandparents don't have special rights to see their grandchildren. What it means for the changing American family. Home of the brave. The new National D-Day Museum, a tribute to the men who stormed the beaches at Normandy, in depth tonight. The boat that some say won the war. $36 million and counting. Not another lottery, but the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history. And the danger at America's national parks. What your family needs to know this summer.
This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Reporting tonight from the National D-Day Museum in New Orleans.
Good evening from the new D-Day Museum in New Orleans. It's the home of the Higgins boat that you see behind me there. That's the landing craft that made the Normandy invasion and so much of the Pacific War possible, and it was built here in New Orleans by Andrew Jackson Higgins. Thousands of veterans from that historic day in Normandy 56 years ago have come to New Orleans to share their experiences and to remind us all of their sacrifices. We'll have more on all of that tonight in depth, but we begin with a major decision from the U.S. Supreme Court on the modern world and changing roles for families, grandparents, and their rights to see their grandchildren. Tonight, a loss for the grandparents. Here's NBC's Pete Williams.
In a setback for a nationwide movement, the Supreme Court today refuses to give any special legal status to grandparents, ruling instead that the answer to legal disputes about visiting rights must begin with the wishes of the parents. By a 6-3 vote, today's decision strikes down a Washington state law that allowed couples like Gary and Jennifer Troxell to ask a judge for more frequent visits with their two granddaughters, now 8 and 10.
When you think that you're going to lose your grandchildren, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that you're going to be able to see those grandchildren.
Today's ruling says the Constitution protects the fundamental right of parents to make decisions concerning the care, custody, and control of their children. It says no state can infringe on that right just because some judge believes a grandparent might be able to make a better decision. Today's ruling stops short of saying how broad parents' rights are and when they can be trumped by proving, for example, that parents are unfit, leaving that issue for future cases. But the court declined to rule that grandparents have a special bond with their grandchildren, deserving legal protection. Lawyers for parents' rights groups say today's decision is a warning to the grandparents' rights movement.
We're going to see state legislatures looking at this decision and then going back to their own laws, and clearly some adjustments are going to have to be made to make sure that those laws all respect the rights of parents to make decisions about how to raise their children.
Every state has some kind of law giving grandparents visiting rights, some more generous than others. Despite today's ruling, the AARP, which has helped get many of them passed, predicts most of the laws will survive.
The door has not been shut as we feared it might be. The door has been left open for grandparents to show that in their particular case, it's in the best interest of the child to obtain court-ordered visitation.
While this dispute is about grandparents, today's decision concentrates on the legal rights of parents. So it could also be bad news for the Miami relatives of Elian Gonzalez, since in any dispute over children, the court says, judges must pay special attention to what the parents want. Pete Williams, NBC News at the Supreme Court.
This is becoming a much bigger issue in America because of the changing role of grandparents. It's no longer a case of just seeing the grandkids from time to time. More and more, grandparents are actually raising their children's offspring. Here's NBC's Bob Fall.
In Fort Worth, Texas, 53-year-old grandmother Therathea Smith struggles not just to raise her 13-year-old granddaughter Diopolis. She's also raising 3 other grandchildren she says her daughter cannot raise. Smith is part of a national phenomenon. 4 million children, 6% of all children under the age of 18, are now being raised by grandparents because of drugs, divorce, desertion, and death. Already in this country, 2.5 million families are headed by grandparents like Therathea Smith.
That's all we want to do, is keep our children together, and we're getting no support whatsoever from the state.
In Boston, where 10,000 children are now being raised by grandparents, there is public housing for just 26 of those families.
Foster care parents get financially a lot more money than you would say that a grandparent would get.
Vera Sanders, raising her 15-year-old grandson John, says that kind of help is no luxury.
Yes, I think there should be a special fund for grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. I really do, because we don't get enough to give them.
Raising these kids is hard enough, says Smith, without today's decision.
They pulled another chair from under us. We are down to absolutely nothing.
She says our biggest problem is being taken seriously. Now she fears it will be even harder. Bob Fall, NBC News, Washington.
And at the United Nations, another push for equality for all women at a follow-up to that landmark conference on women held 5 years ago in Beijing. Today, the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan said progress has been made, but much remains to be done about violence toward women, the millions of young girls not in school, and the economic divide between men and women. President Clinton ended his week-long trip overseas with a visit to his old friend Boris Yeltsin. And just before leaving Washington, Mr. Clinton joined Ukraine's president in announcing that the Chernobyl nuclear power plant will be closed for good on December 15th, 14 years after the world's worst nuclear accident. The U.S. will pay about $80 million to ensure that that shutdown is safe. Still ahead here tonight on NBC Nightly News, summer hazards. Millions will visit America's national parks this year, but how safe will those parks be?
They literally had to hook us one at a time on the lifelines and pull us out of the canyon.
New information tonight about which parks are safest for your family. And tonight, NBC News in Depth, paying tribute to the men who stormed the beaches at Normandy and the little boats that got them there.
That little voice in your head makes you feel guilty for having too much of a good thing. Yeah, we don't either.
Outback Steakhouse, no rules, just right.
Outback Steakhouse, no rules, just right.
Your dream home. It's all yours. What a nightmare.
Honey, wake up. The appraiser, remember?
With HUD's FHA Homebuyer Protection Plan, you get the right loan, a fair price, and a thorough appraisal. If any problems are found, you'll know about them before you close. 30 million Americans have trusted us to build their dreams. Call for information on HUD Homes and FHA loans. HUD and FHA are on your side.
He's upside down. This one has to go like that.
Some children imagine that their father is the most powerful man in the world. Wonder where they got that idea.
Dad!
The 300 horsepower Silverado. The truck from Chevrolet.
We are healthy, strong, funny, energetic, even sexy. We take good care of ourselves, and we drink Ensure when we can't eat nutritious foods like these. Ensure provides essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure is a source of complete balanced nutrition and energy, so we can get the most out of life. Drink Ensure, and drink to your health.
On an all-new Dateline Monday, unmarried. They moved in together because they were in love. But does that make them criminals?
I was shocked. I just couldn't believe what I was reading.
An obscure law says they are. Now they're going to court. But wait until you see who filed the charges. An all-new Dateline tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC.
NBC News in Depth tonight, back here at the National D-Day Museum in New Orleans on the eve of the 56th anniversary of that historic Normandy invasion and the opening of this museum tomorrow. You're looking at the main pavilion here, home of the famous pieces of equipment from World War II. This museum was 15 years in the making. It cost $21 million to build. $9 million came from private sources. A military welcome for some of the veterans who arrived early for a preview. The galleries take visitors through the build-up to D-Day, then the landings on Omaha, Utah, and other beaches. The beginning of the long road to victory in Europe. Historian Stephen Ambrose is the force behind the museum. a tribute to D-Day and the landing craft that made it possible, the Higgins boat, built here in New Orleans. Ambrose, who's taught in this area for years and wanted the museum here, was inspired when he heard General Eisenhower say, "The Higgins boats won the war." There was nothing graceful about it. A boat that looked more like a box.
It's like a cigar box. The Higgins boat was 30-plus feet long, not more than 8 feet wide. It could carry 32 men.
It would change the course of the war.
You are about to embark upon the Great Crusade.
I realized that I had at my hands, at my disposal here, a superb piece of engineered equipment that it could do its job, and it was only up to me now to do my job.
18-year-old Marvin Perret of New Orleans had an awesome job. Coast Guard coxswain, driver of a landing craft full of soldiers onto Utah Beach, standing higher than anyone else on the boat.
I'm badly exposed right here, and there's a lot going through your mind that I wonder if I'm going to make this or not.
First of all, I had a feeling of confidence that this boat was going to get us safely into the beach.
Omaha Beach for Captain Frank Walk of the Army's Amphibious Engineers. He's also from New Orleans. And when you come and see something like this again, does it bring back old memories right away?
It certainly does, Tom.
Walk knew the boat and its builder, a brilliant, hard-drinking local man named Andrew Jackson Higgins.
The attack had to go in over an open beak. Now, how the hell do you bring a seagoing vessel into an open beak? You cannot.
Higgins already had part of the answer. His superb workboats, highly effective in Louisiana's shallow bayous.
And he took that boat and he adapted it by cutting the front off of it, if you want to look at it that way, widening it out some and putting this steel ramp on it.
The Navy resisted the Higgins design, thinking it could do better. But it couldn't. And Higgins would build more than 12,000 of his boats for Europe and the Pacific. His 20,000 workers included many women and blacks who were paid the same as whites and worked alongside them. His daughter says Higgins was obsessed.
He wanted those boys to land safely. He wanted those boys to come home in one piece. He wanted the damn war over with.
I rather felt that I had been given something like a Sherman tank, you know.
Marvin Perret got his troops to Utah Beach on D-Day. Frank Walk survived Omaha Beach to become a very successful businessman back home in New Orleans. Did you ever do anything in your life that was more important or more dangerous or more fulfilling in its own way than what you did when you were 23 years old and a captain in Normandy?
Don't have to think very long to answer that. No, absolutely not. Not before and certainly not since either.
An invasion that made victory possible thanks to a driven man named Higgins and his boxy little boat. Andrew Jackson Higgins, a real hero, died in 1952 at the age of 64. 7 years later, his boat building business went out of business. Up next, a bitter political battle in this country, record-breaking amounts of money spent, why some say the Senate primary race in New Jersey is a case of wretched political and financial excess.
Washington.
Now get DirecTV and get 2 months of 32 premium movie channels. And you'll also get 25 specialty sports networks. Free! Hey, there's something for everyone. So what's not to like? DirecTV, now with local channels.
In hospital pharmacies, they dispense medicines that work fast. For heartburn, that's 1 minute Maalox.
It goes to work on stomach acid in 1 minute. Pepcid AC could take over 45 minutes.
Hospital pharmacies rely on Maalox. Shouldn't you?
Count on 1 minute Maalox. You're looking for a home. You're searching. There are questions. Where do you start? You can search over 1.3 million current home listings. Click on to Realtor.com. Check info on schools and financing. Even take a virtual tour. And when you're ready, you can click and connect with a realtor. Realtor.com. It's the place to start when you start looking for a home.
My dad was a coach at Georgia School for the Deaf. I grew up in an environment where deaf kids kind of adopted me in their culture. Thank all of you for coming to the camp today. When I first went to Merrill Lynch, I was very impressed with Steve Malone. He was very easy to talk to, and he listened well. So it's important for all of us to listen well and to cooperate. Every day you're building your future.
The forces of nature are waging a war, and the target is your deck. But Thompson's will stop them, because when others fail, Thompson succeeds, protecting your deck like no other, guaranteed. Thompson's Wood Protector. It never takes a day off.
OnStar.
This is Batman. I need my door unlocked.
I'll do it right away.
If you get locked out, an OnStar advisor can unlock your doors by remote. Even the most self-sufficient driver needs a little help now and then.
OnStar, this is Jeff Hilden. How can I help you, Batman?
I'm low on jet fuel.
The nearest station is 2 miles ahead on your left.
Thanks.
Let's put music education back in our schools. Bring your instrument donations to the Today Show next week and help us
save the music!
Tom Brokaw live from the D-Day Museum. NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
Despite all this year's talk about campaign finance reform and the potential evils of political soft money, unregulated but legal contributions used to boost the political parties, they're raising much more than ever before, much more. According to a Federal Election Commission report out today, in the first 3 months of this year, the Republicans raised $86.4 million in soft money. That's up 93% from the last presidential election year, 1996. The Democrats raised $77 million in the first quarter. That's a 94% increase from 4 years ago. Voters are going to the polls tomorrow in New Jersey to pick their party's candidates for U.S. Senate. For the Democrats, it has become a bitter, nasty, and shockingly expensive battle, breaking all records, raising questions again about private money and public office. Here's NBC's Lisa Myers.
It's the most expensive Senate race ever, and for the Krieger family and many other New Jersey Democrats, it's a turnoff.
I think they're very excessive. I've been barraged by the name, it keeps flashing and flashing.
The name, John Corzine, once a star in the investment banking world, now using his $400 million fortune to mount his first political campaign, shattering all spending records in the process. His opponent, former Governor Jim Florio, outspent 14-1, accuses Corzine of trying to buy the election.
The gentleman is a walking ATM machine. He's out there just passing out money.
Money for free dinners for Democrats around the state. $20,000 and $30,000 checks to Democratic organizations to fertilize the grassroots. Even private investigators to probe his opponent's background. And most of all, millions for TV ads, laying out a liberal agenda.
Bold ideas, new answers. John Corzine, Democrat for Senate.
Slamming Florio.
We all remember that as governor, Jim Florio raised our taxes.
Before the ads, polls put Corzine 35 points behind. Now he has a comfortable lead. Experts say spending a staggering $34 million doesn't guarantee victory, but that without it, Corzine wouldn't have had a chance, especially given rookie mistakes, such as a crack about an Italian-American contractor making cement shoes for a living. Now much of the Democratic establishment sees Corzine as their strongest candidate in November, arguing that many voters still haven't forgiven Florio for that big tax increase while he was governor.
The governor has never apologized for it and doesn't believe that an apology is necessary. He feels he did the right thing.
With only a few hours to go, Corzine predicts he will win.
It will be because of the ideas and because of who I am and what I'm trying to represent.
And not because of your money.
I don't think it's the money.
Still, in the last 48 hours, Corzine will spend as much as Florio did his entire campaign. And if he wins, the cost? Close to $200 a vote. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Newark.
On Wall Street today, a quiet session after last week's big gains. As a result, the Dow today finished up more than 20 points. NASDAQ managed a small increase, a little more than 8 points on the day. Not a summer vacation, a time when millions of Americans will be traveling to national parks from Maine to California. And while most families will expect to deal with traffic high fees and long lines, there are other hazards as well. Some dangers you may never even have thought of. In collaboration with the Wall Street Journal, here's NBC's Jim Avila.
America's summer playground, 378 national parks, attracting 289 million visitors. Overwhelmingly safe for most, but still each year, 1,400 people are hurt. Finding beauty can carry risk. John Morey and his son Brian injured badly in a fall at the Grand Canyon.
He landed on a boulder next to me, and he was knocked out unconscious right off the bat.
5 hours of rescue and helicopter rides later, the family vacation ended in the hospital.
Good. Good.
Visitors often mistake national parks for amusement parks, forgetting that here, adventure is uncontrolled.
Really, the biggest problem is just the unexpected.
Former park ranger Charles Farabee's book on national park hazards says visitors forget animals in parks are wild, the weather unpredictable, and visitors outnumber park rangers 14,000 to 1.
The highest risk parks, those closest to major cities, urban crimes, and national recreation areas with intense water sports.
Parks that are within, say 50 or 60 miles of an urban center tend to get more urban traffic, which means more alcohol, more drugs, more weapons violations.
To track national park hazards, the Wall Street Journal devised the Danger Index, based on the number of serious crimes, emergency rescues, and total visitors. Top of the list, Lake Mead in Boulder City, Nevada, 26 miles from Las Vegas, 540 search and rescues last year, and the highest rate of serious crime in the survey. Danger Index 13.6. Second, Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, Page, Arizona, 150 search and rescues, 156 crimes. Danger Index 11.5. Number 3, the Grand Canyon, one of the country's busiest, 325 search and rescues, 234 crimes. Danger Index 11.3. Fourth, the Everglades in Homestead, Florida, 72 search and rescues, 51 crimes. Danger Index 10.8. And number 5, Yosemite, California, 164 rescues, 211 crimes. Danger Index 10.3. Lake Mead superintendent, whose territory includes 950 square miles, the size of Delaware, and 2 lakes with a crew of 47 rangers, says any park is only as safe as its visitors.
Regardless of our best intentions, some people are intent on getting in trouble.
Adding risk to the adventure of America's national parks. Jim Avila, NBC News, Chicago.
I'll be right back.
Amazing as it may seem, the same bare aspirin you take for muscle pain and backaches can actually help stop someone you love from dying if taken during a heart attack.
Peter?
That's why aspirin is the one pain reliever you should never be without. Talk to your doctor now.
They said you'll be okay.
Bayer, take it for pain, take it for life.
Now your touch does more to protect your dog or cat from parasites, because today there's Revolution, a better choice in parasite protection. Revolution, better because in just one touch, a single application, it protects against both external parasites like fleas and the deadly internal parasite heartworm. Revolution. It's the medicine that protects against adult fleas and their eggs in just one touch. And unlike other topicals, Revolution is a medicine, not a pesticide. Go ahead, touch, and feel good about the best kind of protection. Revolution is for cats and dogs 6 weeks or older. In less than 1% of cats and dogs, digestive upset was noted. In approximately 1% of cats, temporary hair loss at application site was noted. Use with caution on sick, weak, or underweight animals. Revolution, the only topical that protects against external and internal parasites in just one touch. Ask your veterinarian for it. Revolution, never has one touch protected so much.
I like the likes of you. I like the things you do. I mean, I like the likes of you.
I snooped in your medicine cabinet. So? You switched to X-Lax.
Yeah, Correctol works with an artificial chemical. X-Lax works with natural senna.
Very effectively, too.
You tried it.
Today's gentle X-Lax with natural vegetable senna. 4 out of 5 users agree. It's dependable overnight.
X-Lax, what a find.
What a snoop.
Today's X-Lax, good morning, guaranteed. And for relief with the added comfort of a softener, try X-Lax Gentle Strength.
Just ahead at 6 o'clock, a 4-block area is evacuated after dynamite is found strapped to a car. Exclusive pictures tonight at 6 o'clock. Then horseplay turned serious in New York State. New information tonight about the incident in which country stars Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney were arrested. Stay with us. The Scene at 6 is minutes away.
The thousands of men and women in New Orleans for this D-Day dedication have seen so much change in their lives, from the Great Depression to World War II, the space age, the end of communism, and now they're witness to another phenomenon, the historic economic opportunities for their grandchildren. As NBC's Ann Thompson reports tonight, that becomes especially clear on graduation day.
A day to look back for Bob Richards and forward for Christopher Ross, grandfather and grandson. The same college, one family, but from 2 different worlds. Chris following Bob's lead 50 years later, graduating from the University of Delaware, now looking for a job in civil engineering.
Starting salaries are in the low 40s, the low 40,000s.
Astronomical when compared to what awaited his grandfather, a chemical engineer who made the very same walk in 1950.
It said you could aspire to make $10,000 after quite a number of years of experience, $10,000 a year.
$10,000, what Christopher says he and his classmates get just for signing bonuses today.
Some people get the cars, computers, they get all sorts of benefits.
Technology defined Chris's college years. The aftermath of war tempered Bob's. More than 2 million vets went to college, the focus clearly on education and the future.
When it came time to select a company to work for, we knew that we wanted to be very careful because by and large we would work for that company for the rest of our lives.
Bob chose DuPont and over 30 years worked his way up the corporate ladder, retiring as a vice president. Now more than 3/4 of this year's grads don't expect to stay with their first employers more than 3 years, including Christopher.
Average is something like I'll change at least 4 or 5 times before I find the perfect job or where I'll stay the longest.
Today's campus, a far more restrictive place in Bob's era. The campus was co-ed, but the men and women here led very separate lives. This was the men's campus. The women, just 98 of them in the class of 1950, lived nearby in single-sex dorms where the doors were locked at 10 p.m. Not anymore. Christopher lived in a co-ed dorm.
My room freshman year was directly across the hall from the women's bathroom.
Despite the rules and restrictions, Bob found love and his life's partner, Joyce.
When you graduated in 1950 on your commencement day, what were you dreaming of doing?
Marrying Joyce.
70 years old, Bob considers Christopher the son he never had. To Christopher, just 22, Bob is a mentor.
He's probably one of my biggest role models in my life. I would love to live my life as he has.
2 generations, different opportunities and plans, bonded by the same goals: happiness, success, family. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Newark, Delaware.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That's Nightly News for Monday. Dateline tonight at 8, 7 Central. I'll be back here tomorrow for the dedication of this D-Day museum, and at 10:30 tomorrow morning, Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks from Saving Private Ryan on MSNBC. I'll be with them at that time. I'll see you from here tomorrow.
Police are taking it seriously, but 2 of country music's hottest stars say it's a case of horseplay that's been blown out of proportion. What are fans saying about the arrests of Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney? We'll have the latest right now on The Scene at 6.
I'm Francine Cuccinello. Did a Nashville daycare try and conceal an alleged molestation that happened on church property? I'll have the story coming up.
Also, a scare in southern Kentucky. Tonight, details of what brought an entire town square to a frightening standstill for 5 hours. Plus, who says retirement means it's time to relax?